Housing Act has expanded its definitions of national origin in terms of prohibited discrimination. It's not simply, hey, don't discriminate against somebody because of where they're from. If you look here on this list, I encourage you to read it carefully. It also has to do with perceptions and physical characteristics and stereotypes and names and accents. So when we talk about national origin discrimination or harassment against somebody on that basis, it's this full list of things. And again, when it comes to discrimination and harassment, retaliation in California, it's pretty much, why are we doing any of that? We don't discriminate against people. We shouldn't be harassing people on any basis whatsoever, whether it's in a statute or not. We should be nice to people. We should be making hiring decisions and other employment-related decisions based on legitimate job and business criteria. We do that, we're good. The concern always is that sometimes you have employees not working out for legitimate reasons, but sometimes they're reasons that could be hard to articulate, and we do worry about the fact that since just about everybody's in some protected class, that a person might simply say, well, I think that was terrific, so the only reason I'm out of here is because name the favorite protected class. So we still do need to be very careful. We recognize that there will be times when someone's employment doesn't work out. We can't be held hostage to the fact that everybody's in some protected class. But it just reminds us to make sure that we do have legitimate business reasons for everything that we do, and then be careful about it. So how do you evaluate somebody on their communication skills without getting into national origin? Well, let's assume that your question also includes maybe they have an accent, as opposed to, or they speak another language. Well, first off, if the job requires that they speak English, then the question is, regardless of national origin, you could be from anywhere in the world and have perfect English skills, or, in some cases, sufficient English skills. And maybe English isn't even required for the job. For example, in some hospitality jobs, people are behind the scenes and not even interacting with customers. They may not need to speak English, and you might have a supervisor who's bilingual. We're not going to worry about their communication skills in English for that situation. However, if you're talking about a telemarketer, then the issue is going to be, well, can they speak English well enough to do that job? And frankly, I've seen some young people who are born and raised here who don't speak English well enough to do that job. So you never know. This is independent of national origin here. You should hear my nephew talk. He talks so fast, I swear. I ask him to slow down. He slows down. I'm still going, huh? So the issue might be that could come up most often might be if they have a very thick accent. And the question isn't, will the customers dislike that, or they might have to strain to listen. It's, does it actually really prevent, significantly interfere with their ability to do the job? I know we've all been on the phone with some folks at health centers or what have you where the person has an accent, and you might say, hey, can you slow down a little so I understand you? And they do, and guess what? It gets done just fine. So I think the standard for saying it interferes, materially, significantly interferes with their ability to do the job is going to be a high standard. So I would suggest that if you're thinking that you need to reject somebody for a position because of their language skills or anything like that, talk to me about, hey, can I do this? Is it okay? Same thing, you cannot have English-only rules in a workplace. And I've heard a lot of employers go, well, you know, there's a group of them, they're all talking in Spanish or in Mandarin or whatever it might be behind everybody else's back, and it makes everybody nervous. Well, sorry, that's too bad. You know, my suggestion sometimes is, well, maybe you want to learn to speak Spanish. They won't talk behind your back. But other than that, it's certainly not something to legally say we're gonna ding somebody for. So you do need to be very careful about that. Next, I want to mention the DFEH, that's the Enforcement Agency for Discrimination Issues, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. They put out a sample equal employment policy. And that's kind of a helpful thing. Understand that by law, for many, many years now, every employer is required to have a written policy prohibiting discrimination, harassment, retaliation on the wide variety of categories that are protected under our anti-discrimination laws. Those categories seem to get expanded pretty much every year. You gotta keep on top of them. This is one of those things that your chamber poster is always gonna have an updated version of. Always get that every year. And the sample policy is helpful. You still do need to customize it for your company. But it's a nice thing to look at. It's a good starting point.